What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Extra Point College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jake McCarnes, joined as always on my co-host, Daniel Hammock. Daniel, several big things to talk about tonight, but this will be our last prediction episode. At the top, we're going to talk about the Corky Kell Classic, something you and I got to attend yesterday here in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Then we're going to make our final predictions for the 2022 season. So we're going to have our picks for our NY6 bowls, our college football playoff, our winners in the playoff, our national champion, our Heisman, our coach of the year. Yeah, that covers it. So that will wrap up all of our predictions. We've gone through every conference, every division, every conference champion. We've talked overrated and underrated teams. And then, man, next week we get to pick some games. So I'm excited we've made it. We actually have week 0 football this week. So maybe we can talk about something you're looking forward to watching this weekend. But Daniel, let's start with Corky Kell. You and I were in Atlanta yesterday. We got to see again, living in Atlanta, we get to see some of the best high school athletes in the country. I'm privileged to do that. Corky Kell puts on an awesome event every year, bringing together some of the best teams, which in turn brings together some of the best athletes. What is a highlight from yesterday that you saw at Corky Kell?
Honestly, I loved the game with the main game we got to watch, which was Brookwood versus Norcross. And seeing the receivers and the tight end from Norcross, I felt like they had a lot of talent. But seeing Brookwood take that win, Dylan Lonergan, quarterback that's committed to Alabama, had a great game, and down the stretch was just too much. We saw him play last year. I believe that was against Collins Hill when Travis Hunter was there. So it was cool getting to see him year over year, who's, going to be a D1 quarterback. So that was really cool seeing that. And then, like I said, those couple of receivers for Norcross. One of them's committed to Georgia Tech, Zion Taylor.
Yep, Zion Taylor, and then Nakai Poole is the other one.
And then Lawson Lucky, the tight end's going to Georgia. So you could definitely see the size difference of those guys and how they looked like big time prospects. Zion Taylor, I think, you and I were talking about it, not to slight Georgia Tech, really not to slight Georgia Tech, but if he has the season like what he showed he could do, he might be making, he might get more big boy offers, and so he might be reconsidering things come December.
Well, you're saying especially Georgia Tech's going to fire their coach.
I don't want to get too far into it, but yeah, that's probably
that would prompt a decommitment for sure. I'll highlight one more that we got to see. Caleb Downs. I mean, he's a consensus top 10 player in the country, playing for Mill Creek High School. Man, when he walked out, you and I were both. You looked at me and you said, "That's a Bama safety." I mean, just the way he's built, and we got to stand right up next to him. He's got that size, man.
He's legit, man.
6'2". He's a legit 6'2". He's thick. He's got to be over 200 pounds. He looked muscular already before getting into a college weight room. He's got elite closing speed, which we watch on defense. And then, of course, we got to see his top end speed. They ended up, for their first touchdown of the game, they put him at running back. And just literally an inside zone that he just found a gap and took to the house. So I think that's really, really important. You talk about these Saban and Kirby style DBs, he is cut from that cloth, and he's going to be elite at the next level.
He almost had a pick six too, and his teammate tripped him up, and it was, short of that, but he was, he's one of those guys you could just tell best player on the field, and the media scrum around him as he's going in and out of everything. It's like, I wonder who the number 1 player ranked in Georgia is. I bet it's him.
I bet it's number 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
we had a guy walk up through. He's like, "Which one's Caleb?" I'm like, "How about the guy with all the cameras around him right here?" I wonder which one it is: the one guy with all the cameras, or the other 65 high school players in the field. Yeah. But again, thank you to Corky Kell for having us out. That was a wonderful event. Can't wait to go back next year and see more elite high school players here in the Atlanta area. Daniel, let's get to our national predictions. So, luckily, with the way the NY6 bowls are set up, this is made semi-easy for us. You can probably do the math at home as far as, who gets in these games. So let's talk through who we're going to have in our NY6 bowls. We'll talk through some matchups, and then we're going to make some picks here at the end for our college football playoff. So Daniel, let's start with the playoff as far as our semifinal games. The Peach Bowl and Fiesta Bowl are our semifinal games this year. And you and I actually have the same playoff, different records, but same playoff and the same order. So in the Peach, we've got Georgia and Clemson. And then in the Fiesta Bowl, we've got Ohio State and Alabama. So Georgia being that 1 seed, Ohio State at the 2, Alabama at the 3, Clemson at the 4. Only big difference is I've got Ohio State undefeated. You've got them at 1 loss. Rest is the same. So, I mean, you and I were talking off air, a Peach Bowl of Georgia and Clemson. Man, that'd be awesome for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
I mean, elite teams, obviously, but the fact that they're so close and then they get to play in Atlanta where there's a large fan base of both teams would be just an elite college football game.
And the Peach Bowl traditionally is an ACC versus SEC matchup. So you're pitting the ACC champion versus the SEC champion. I mean, it's just a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's just a matchup you always look for. And then a rematch of sorts for from 2020, the national championship game, in the other one with Bama versus Ohio State. So exciting to have that matchup as well.
A game that, given the projections of what these offenses could be this year as a college football fan, I want to see it in the semi or in the natty. I want to see it. So with the way we've got it happening in the semi. Let's talk about the other 4 New Year's 6 games. So the Sugar Bowl, that's an SEC versus Big 12 game. And again, you and I've got same matchup here, different records, but out of the SEC, they'll take the highest ranked SEC team. We both have that projected as Texas A&M at 10-2, and then Big 12 champion, since they're not in the playoff, Texas. So we both picked Texas to win the Big 12. Again, different records. I don't know how I'm going to look with these injuries, picking them to go 11 wins, but I'll stand by it. You got them at 8-4, so 9-4. That's probably a lot more realistic. So
I feel good about that.
I think you're looking really good. But again, prior to their entrance to the SEC, how fun. I think we picked this last year too to be in the Sugar Bowl. I got to go back and look, but I think I'm just dying to get.
We're trying to will this in there. Again. Yeah, we're trying to make this happen. They won't schedule each other, so we're scheduling them, by doing this. That would be just phenomenal, though, if you think about just the
environment for your
location, being a Sugar Bowl, you're relatively close to both fan bases, and then they both would just,
dude.
I mean, it would just be awesome.
The talking after the game.
Oh yeah,
because you know what happened. No matter whoever lost, we didn't want to be there. That's how it happens. We didn't want to be there. We thought we'd be somewhere else. It's just a bowl game. It doesn't even count.
Texas A&M though would have an immense pressure on themselves for being the SEC team for all this time, and if Texas were to beat them in that moment, I think that it would almost completely tilt the scales back in Texas's favor for when Texas joins the SEC in a couple of years. So
because there's nothing like getting Texas fans' hope up, like beating an SEC team in the Sugar Bowl.
Oh yeah, it's true.
That's how you declare Texas is back. Not that long ago, that Texas beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Didn't work out so well that time, but that would be. Hey, let's speak it into existence. Start the campaign now. We got to make this happen as fans. Yeah. So. Texas, do your job. A&M, do your job, and we can make this thing happen. Orange Bowl. So this is an ACC versus either an SEC, Big Ten, or Notre Dame team in the Orange Bowl. So, Daniel, I've got Miami and Notre Dame. You've got Miami and your LSU Tigers.
That's right.
10-2.
10-2 LSU.
We've both got. That's right. We've both got Miami at 10-3. I've got Notre Dame at 10-2. You've got LSU at 10-2. I think this will be a very fun game in the Miami Notre Dame game. Notre Dame played there. Was that under Mark Richt where they had that big game there? Notre Dame came in and Miami beat them.
Yeah.
So in the Orange Bowl will be a lot of fun. Obviously, Notre Dame fans travel very well there, so that would be a blast to see that game. Kind of a quasi ACC game as it is. Game of old superpowers. So I would love to see that game. And then Daniel, you got Miami and LSU. So that'd be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. It's looking like Jaden Daniels probably going to be the starting quarterback for LSU. So what a quarterback matchup with Tyler Van Dyke and Jaden Daniels, two guys who have played at the highest level. And I'm excited to see, 2 first-year coaches that are both coming in with a ton of expectations, even for a first year. So Brian Kelly coming into a storied program, and then Mario coming to just revive something that's been dormant for so long. Kelly, it's only been dormant for 2 years, but Cristobal, I mean, it's been dormant for decades. So that's definitely something to watch there.
You remember the last time LSU and Miami played?
Was it in the Peach Bowl?
It was the opening game in 2018. It was like the Sunday night game. They played in Houston. It was Joe Burrow's first game as LSU starting quarterback.
Okay.
So I laid the points with Miami, and I think LSU won like 33-17 or something like that. Spanked them. And I had some, shout out to Chris Dotson. He was like, dude, this Joe Burrow kid's going to be good. Of course, he didn't pop that year, but
yeah, that was
we all know Joe Burrow now.
Yeah, just took one more year.
The Rose Bowl, the quote unquote granddaddy of them all. All kidding aside, Rose Bowl is a nice environment.
It's phenomenal.
So, Big Ten versus Pac-12, of course. So, I have next highest rated Big Ten team, Michigan at 10-2 against Pac-12 champion Utah. Daniel, you've got Pac-12 champion Utah against, next highest ranked Big Ten team, Wisconsin at 10-3, winning that West. So, I'd love to see Michigan and Utah play. I think this would be a fun, very good defense on both sides, and then very efficient offense on both sides. Two very similar teams. And so I'd love to see that matchup in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I know we're projecting Wisconsin plays that same kind of game usually, but we keep wanting to see what happens with Graham Mertz. I kind of taking that, with their offensive coordinator and everything. I do think they're going to open it up, and so I think that would be kind of more of a wide open game for that aspect. It's going to be a little bit different than Michigan playing.
The Cotton Bowl in Dallas, so in Jerry World, at large game this year. So highest ranked Group of 5 team, as well as highest ranked just whoever team. So at large spot. I've got UCF out of the American at 11-2 against Penn State going 10-2. You've also got UCF at 11-2 out of the American, and then Oregon at 10-3, another Pac-12 team. I love that. I mean, hey, 2 Pac-12 teams in the year 6 bowls. That is a step in the right direction for the Pac-12. I'd love to see, I'm high on Penn State this year. So seeing them back in the Cotton Bowl would be phenomenal. I think it's their first year 6 games since they played Memphis in the Cotton Bowl a couple years back. So would love to see that. I mean, UCF, man, big news today. Your boy's named starting quarterback.
John Rich Plumlee, he's in, and he's not going anywhere. So excited about that. Just a note on the Pac-12 thing that you mentioned, if this does come to fruition and Utah and Oregon make it, it's 2 Pac-12 teams that are staying. So that's even bigger.
That's right.
It's not, USC or UCLA. So that's really big. I like it because Gus Malzahn will be going against his former quarterback and Bo Nix. If that were to happen, and then it's just a fun matchup. 2 former SEC quarterbacks playing in the Rose Bowl. Like, what's going on?
Love it. Love it. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Last year we did this Coach of the Year. So based on how we think the season's going to go, Daniel, who is your pick for Coach of the Year? Or I'm happy to go first.
I got it. I mean,
Coach of the Year,
Brian Kelly, 10-2 LSU.
Hey, that on brand. I love it. Brian Kelly. If LSU does go 10-2,
I mean, he's got to be.
There's a really good chance he wins, because here's the thing. Most of the time, we'll get to mine in a second. That's very logical. Like, you're not going to pick Nick Saban, even though he can win every year.
He should win. Yeah.
It's the whole old, LeBron and MVP, where it's like he could arguably win every year, but it's like, oh, well, who else is really good? It's like, yeah, Saban could win he's the greatest of all time. But if you're not picking him, which he hardly ever wins, Brian, I like that. That's on brand. I will go with Ryan Day. So again, I say it plays into, you've got them losing a game. I think if they run the table, it's almost like Kirby was this past year. Georgia ran the table in the regular season for the first time, and he was the obvious choice to be coach of the year at that point. Ryan Day, if they were on the table in the Big Ten, I think it's an obvious choice to win coach of the year. Daniel Heisman. It's funny. Last year we actually picked Kirby Smart to win coach of the year, so we were 1 for 1 there. Different picks this year, so we'll see who wins that one. I feel a little bit better that you picked Brian Kelly, so I'm feeling good about Ryan Day. Heisman, we picked CJ Stroud last year. Daniel, I will double down because he finished second, so I will double down on CJ Stroud. It's hard to win a Heisman twice, especially back to back. Only one person's ever done it, right? Go back to back.
Oh God, what's his name from Ohio State? Yeah, yes,
But it's only one. Yeah. So even if he has an unreal year, if CJ Stroud's close, we're going to give it to him. So if Young has an unreal year, so I would go CJ Stroud. It's a quarterback's award. You have to have a freak wide receiver season like Devontae Smith did. Now, I will say, I think Stroud's biggest competition might be Jackson Smith and Jigba, but them being on the same team, if he's throwing all those touchdowns to Jackson Smith and Jigba as well as more, I think he has the edge. So, Daniel, who is your Heisman pick?
I have CJ Stroud as well. Yeah,
CJ Stroud.
I just can't
double down.
It's just tough because, like what you said, there's two obvious picks, and one of them won it last year, and I just can't. I can't pick a guy to repeat. Anything else, I feel like would be a hot take based on what I have the season doing. Like Georgia, I have them winning the SEC, but I don't think that Stetson Bennett's going to win. And it's a quarterback award, so I think for his sake, he's not going to win that award. And so you start going through the ranks of who could do what. I'm with you. CJ Stroud, he's the money answer there.
I'm looking at some Heisman odds here, Daniel. Of people who are not the top two, I can read off some. Who's your best value pick? You got Caleb Williams at plus 700. After that, it really jumps. Will Anderson's at plus 2,000. Bijan Robinson at plus 2,000. DJU plus 2,500. Quinn Ewers plus 2,800. Dylan Gabriel plus 3,000. That one's interesting. Here's a good one. Tyler Van Dyke plus 4,000.
He's gonna have, because he had great stats last year in 9 games, 8 games,
and you got to think he is going to have the stage. He plays A&M and Clemson, maybe Clemson twice.
Yeah.
So like you're going to play the teams to, if you're going to look good against those, cred. Right? Yeah. You'll be on national TV in prime time. I mean, Caleb Williams at plus 700 isn't bad, just because of the stats he's going to put up. Honestly, Quinn Ewers, I'm worried with some of the injuries, but if that offense clicks, once again, like if you put up 30 against this Bama defense in week 2, and he's throwing 4 touchdowns, that'll immediately bump up his stock.
I'm worried for Will Anderson. Not that I think he's going to be bad. I think he's going to be phenomenal, but I think that there is a chance that he has like a Jadeveon Clowney situation where he had such a good freshman and especially a sophomore year, and then everybody talked about him and then said that he's going to be this top 3 pick. And I think he's still going to be a top 3 pick no matter what, but he may not. It's not because of him really. I think that it's just like he's getting circled by everybody for their, he'll get doubled and triple teamed and all that kind of stuff. And you'll see guys like Dallas Turner emerge with double-digit sacks this year, and they still might be the most elite pass rush out there. But, Will Anderson, I hate it for him because last year was his time to win it. This year, he's probably going to – I think he's going to take a step back production-wise, still be a great player, but he won't be a Heisman.
I think he could have a worse season last year and win it, only because he's going to get some sympathy votes. He's going to get some votes from people who are like, we screwed up last year. Like, we really screwed up and gave it to the wrong person. I think I'm fine with Young getting it, but to have Aiden Hutchinson ahead of him was ridiculous with the season he had. So I like the Will Anderson. I mean, You and I thought Willie Anderson was the best player in the country last year. So
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
on the right side of that. All right, Daniel, let's make our playoff pick. So in the semis, we both got the same matchups. Who do you have winning your Peach Bowl at the end of the season?
I have 3 elite teams in this season, and there's only one of them in this game. So I have Georgia beating Clemson in this game. I think they win by at least 10 points in the matchup, just with what I believe both teams to be. But yeah, Georgia over Clemson.
I thought it was interesting today. We pay close attention to Bill Conley's SP Plus. Big influence for our XPR. Obviously, he's best in the game when it comes to power ratings. I thought it was interesting. The gap between 3 and 4 is about a touchdown. The teams ranked number 3 and number 4 power rated wise. So point spread wise, he has number 3 Ohio State has about a touchdown better than number 4 Oklahoma. The points between Alabama 1, Georgia 2, and Ohio State 3 is about 3 points total. That gap to 4 is 7 points. The gap between like 4 and 20 is also 7 points. And so the gap between that top 3 and the field is, 7 points is astronomical when you're talking about power rating and point spreads between two teams. So that's a lot. I'm with you. I've got Georgia out of the Peach. I'm with you in that I think there's 3 elite teams this year, and Georgia's the only one in that game. I think that's some really good logic. I'd like Georgia by a touchdown in that game. 10 points. We'll see at the end of the year. I think Clemson's defense is really, really good, but you and I have talked about it. I think Georgia's going to have the best offensive line in the country. That, you could see a speed bump there with, the recent injury to Tate Ratledge. We'll have to see how long that turf toe lingers for. But regardless, they got a lot of depth, which is why we have them as the best unit. I like Georgia out of the Peach as well. This is where we might have a disagreement. We'll see. Semifinal, Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State and Alabama. Who do you have coming out of that game?
I've gone back and forth with this one. I think this is a phenomenal game. I do think these two teams will go score for score with one another, and for different reasons. I just think that what it comes down to, so Ohio State's elite at wide receiver. Bama, I have questions at wide receiver, but I know that Alabama has the best pass rush in college football. And I just think that if anyone is going to stop CJ Stroud, it's going to be someone with an elite pass rush from both sides, from up the middle, sideline to sideline linebackers. I'm going to go Alabama. I think Alabama wins because of the defense. I do think that they have some questions at receiver, questions at the offensive line. I don't think Ohio State can push them around on the offensive line and make that an issue for them. And I think that there's enough wins for Alabama out wide. And I'm talking about, I think it's going to be a hold serve game. I think both teams are going to score regularly. I think that when it comes down to it, though, you're going to have, we've already mentioned him, Will Anderson, Dallas Turner. You're going to have these guys pinning their ears back, knowing that they can come and get CJ Stroud. And, there's only so much you can do for so long. You could block them right the whole game, and then it's just like 1 or 2 plays at the end of the game that matter. I think that's what's going to do it. So I have Alabama by 4 points.
Love it. All right. I'm picking Ohio State. So Bama, I don't know if there's a team in the country that can counter the front 7 as far as like establishing a run game or beating that front 7 up front. I don't know. There might be one. But if someone's going to do it, I think it's Ohio State, and here's why. I'll say if someone's going to get around it, it's Ohio State, because if you look at Georgia in the SEC championship last year, Georgia was that team that had that unstoppable front 7, and Alabama could not run the ball, but they had the horses at receiver, and they had a quarterback who could get it out quickly and expose the secondary that isn't necessarily a weakness, but it was the weaker part of the team. And I don't think there's many teams on Alabama's schedule that is going to be able to expose their secondary, but Ohio State can. Ohio State can do it, and they can do it to anybody. So I think they can win that advantage when it comes to their offense versus Bama's defense. I do think Alabama's offense has an advantage over Ohio State's defense, but where I think it's kind of a strength versus weakness here. I do have questions about Alabama's receivers. I like Ohio State secondary. And so again, can they get a couple stops? Because I think they can score at will on almost everybody. Like I think this is almost like that Clemson Ohio State game from 2019. I mean, it is a shame we didn't get to see that Ohio State team play LSU in 2019. But kind of like that, what was it, like 29-28, like a low scoring in 30s kind of game. That's how I could see this Ohio State Bama matchup going. It's a matchup I'm dying to see. So as a college football fan,
it's
I
what
need
we
to see these
deserve.
two
We
teams
have to
face
see
off.
this. Yeah.
Right. At
Whether
some point.
semifinals or the national championship, they have to play.
So I've got Ohio State. So Daniel, your national championship, you've got an undefeated Georgia against a one-loss Alabama. And then I've got an undefeated Georgia against an undefeated Ohio State. Daniel, who is your 2022 national champion?
I have Alabama doing what Georgia did to them last year. They lose the SEC championship, and then they atone for it by winning the next game. I think that this is a couple things. So obviously, I think that matters a little bit, the fact that they will have played each other. And then I just think that the confidence coming off of beating an Ohio State team that is that good, I think it's going to matter to Bama. I think that they're going to have enough, and they're going to play a Georgia team that, I think that they can, if it is a shootout, I think, are you going to, Bryce Young, or you want Stetson Bennett? I think Georgia does a good job holding up against that pass rush, but like I said before, it only takes, one or two plays for it to manifest itself in the course of the game. I have Alabama by 3 points in that game.
We looked at, so you've got Alabama over Georgia in the Natty. I've got, Ohio State and Georgia. I'm going to pick Ohio State over Georgia for the national championship. So Ohio State, I think you look at that team last year, you're like, man, they really did waste a really good offense. Like, how good does the defense have to be to not waste that offense? And similarly, Georgia last season, after the SEC championship, people were thinking, are they about to waste this defense, like a historically good defense? How good does the offense have to be against these elite teams? I'm looking at Ohio State. I'm looking at Georgia. Georgia will not be as good as they were last year, right? Like that so that defense, I think Ohio State could tear up. I just think Ohio State's offense is going to be the best in the country, and by a lot best in the country. And you look at, of course, I'm going to mention Bill Connelly again, but his SC plus numbers, Ohio State's offense is a touchdown better than the second best offense. And to put that in perspective, that same gap from like 2 to like 25, same kind of gap. Like it is elite, that offense. So this offense is so good. I do think we talked about it. I do believe in Jim Knowles coming in and fixing the scheme. These players were out of position last year. They have talent on this roster. This is Ohio State. This isn't a rebuilding team. They didn't just fire a coach. This is a team that has 4 and 5 stars that played sloppy last year. And this is the kind of scheme that they can come in. He even brought over some of his best players from Oklahoma State to help run the scheme. They've simplified the language. I think you can get him in the right spot and get enough stops. I like Ohio State to win it all this year. So I'm kind of going all my eggs in one basket. Heisman Coach of the Year, national champion with Ohio State. So, Daniel, you've got Alabama. I've got Ohio State. And here's the thing, man. Injuries could derail this whole thing. So there's really no skill in these projections. It's fun to talk about.
Right.
It's fun to pick and predict, but there's no skill in this. Our guess is as good as anybody else's. But I will say, I would put money on Ohio State, Bama, Georgia in the field. Like one of those 3 teams is going to win the national championship. I can confidently predict that. You in the same boat?
Yeah. It's I mean, like we said, there's 3 elite teams. They just have done the work roster-wise, and none of them are deficient at head coach. None of them are deficient with any of the coaching personnel, and it's like
not anymore.
In a season, college football is so unpredictable because if there are injuries or anything like that, but the biggest remedy for that is to just have depth. So if any of these teams have injuries, I mean, they've got guys who were just as highly recruited. Yes, it sounds crazy, but if Will Anderson got hurt, there's another 5-star that Alabama has recruited to play comparable to what he's doing, and then so on and so forth. You go through any of the stars on either one of these teams, they're only stars because we know their names already, but there are stars yet to be named once they're the starters. So
Like
these three
you said,
teams are elite.
It's elite depth. And that's the difference in the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, and the field. There's some teams who have good depth, but you look at someone like a Utah. If Utah loses a guy who's a star, like it really can derail their entire
Set them
season.
back. Yeah.
Right. Versus, those three teams losing a guy, they can probably make up for it within the year. So, Daniel, that concludes our 2022 season preview, predictions, picks.
That means
we got real games. Daniel, what's one thing you're looking forward to this Saturday, week 0? I got 2 games that I will watch all of.
I think we have the same 2 games that we're going to watch all of.
What are your 2 games?
The Nebraska and Northwestern, just because it's on Fox and it's the earliest good game. And then, of course, I got to watch the SEC boys out there on the West Coast, past the West Coast. Vandy, an SEC team traveling to Hawaii. And
bro, the Vanderbilt
I'm going to stay up. It's a 10:30 game. I'm going to stay up and watch it. I mean,
heck yeah.
I need to see that's the only game that I'm probably going to watch every minute of for Vanderbilt this year. So yeah, shout out to Barton Simmons, friend of the show.
Go Commodores, man. They gotta beat that 2.5 win total. They need this.
Go Doors. All right. It's not
Go
Commodores. The Doors. Go Doors.
I'll throw a couple deep cuts. I will be watching Illinois and Wyoming. I'm excited to see what this Illinois offense looks like, especially against a Wyoming team who did get depleted. They had a lot of transfers out, but they were pretty good last year. And FAU and Charlotte. That will be it's a touchdown spread. That'll be a close game. That's on CBS as well, 7 p.m. So that'll be like
Florida State and Duquesne.
I am excited to watch and see what Florida State looks like, but man, you can't spell Duquesne that way and then tell me it's gonna be a close game. That's ridiculous.
Jacob is 0 against Duquesne so far with saying it correctly. I remember you said something. It was like February, and you said
if you've never seen,
that's what it says.
If you've never seen Duquesne spelled and you're listening to this right now on audio or watching on YouTube, I want you to pause it and write down what you think Duquesne spells like, and then go look up if Florida State's playing in week 0. I promise you're going to be shocked. I cannot be the only one who is. I'm not going to sound it out because then you'll know the spelling. But yeah, man, we got real college football games. We'll be back next week to talk week 1 picks and predictions. We'll start doing 2 pods a week, recapping the previous week. We got real games, man. Talking season's over. Let's watch some football.
Let's do it.
You can follow us on social media at the Extra Point Pod on Facebook and Instagram. You could follow him on Twitter at Deep South Daniel. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Carnes with a K. That will do it for this edition of the Extra Point. He is Daniel. I am Jacob. See you.